After a surprisingly tough day yesterday, compounded by the problems of getting to our hotel and getting something to eat, it was daunting to think that today's 17 miles would include the toughest climb so far, particularly as we both still had problems walking. We'd been kindly offered a lift from the hotel by another guest, Eleonora, an Italian ecologist who was documenting the bat populations within the wind farms. Our first port of call would be Wright's shop, to thank the owner for his help in driving us to the hotel the previous evening. I also wanted to do an all too brief tour of some of the interesting parts of the village before we left. The route would take us from St John's to the Chalk Memorial Bothy at Polskeoch, the correct pronunciation of which I learned long after the walk had finished, and looked as though, given earlier weather, it might be a bit damp underfoot. Although most of the day would be dominated by the distinctive Carsven Hills, it was the 580 metres of Benbrack that would provide our particular challenge, and I was hoping that by the time we reached it my ankle would have come around somewhat. By way of an incentive, on the summit was one of 4 4-metre high freestanding red sandstone sculptures known as the Striding Arches. Another can be seen on nearby Cold Hill, and all were designed by the architect Andrew Goldsworthy, being installed between 2004-2008. The route would also take in a few sites associated with the Covenanter story, which continue to fascinate me. One of the 2 martyrs buried in Dalry churchyard once lived at Arddock Farm. There's a killing on the road at Stone Patrick, and I was keen to see Allen's Cairn, which is on the route shortly before arriving at the Bothy. Fortunately, we'd managed to reprovision adequately at Wright's, so we were able to look forward to a decent fry-up in the Bothy as a reward for the day's efforts. Hiya, how are you doing? You alright?
Filming me?
I am,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Because
Thanks very much.
it's alright, it's going to go on YouTube as the friendliest shopkeeper I've ever come across.
Stand outside and shout that, please.
No, we'll do as best we can to promote this little haven.
Anybody walking on the Southern Upland Way, they're more than welcome.
Do you need one a customer?
You said it all. Are you happy? Are you happy with the service?
I need to put you work. Are you happy with the service? Oh, me, aye.
Yeah, well there you are, you see.
Should have been in 5 years ago.
No, really grateful for that. Thank you so much.
It's nice to do it.
Thanks, missus.
like this, where you can see one marker and you can see the next, so you know you're heading in the right direction.
I can even remember this bend, Diane.
Yeah.
35 mile an hour on the tandem. Oh yes. Sure, I think the rain's gone.
I think not.
Man, you have to go a long way for a view like this.
We just did.
Boom boom. Yeah, that's the way we've just come off Dodd Hill and oh, what was it called? Manuel Hill. Straight down, straight line and up the fell. Do you want a drink?
Yeah, please. Oh, yeah.
How's that? Some dark fluid in there, what's that?
Vin Rouge!
For a cheeky little...
You thought I'd thrown that other half a bottle out, didn't
Aye, right. Oh well, that's nice. Polskeoch, here we come. There you go. There's some of the lesser stuff.
Thank you. That'll do. That'll do for now.
This will be so good for buttocks and big goals.
Yeah, it'll be so good on video when the pain is over. Come on, I'm going to beat you to the top.
Cheat!
The things I'd do for you to let you get there first. Didn't have to go for the sun.
What are you trying to do then?
I'm trying to find the timer. I should know where it is. Well, so far to go now till we arrive at Polskeoch. It's been a much better day than yesterday. My ankle's doing very well, but that's probably got a lot to do with the fact the terrain's been incredibly boggy. The ridge walking was possibly only marred by the wetness underfoot, but I think it may have helped to hinder Diane's Achilles, which has always also given her a bit of grief, and could depend on whether we or could affect whether we carry on tomorrow or not from Sanka. But that's tomorrow. We'll make that decision when we need to. But it's been a great day.
Fire's on.
Aye, right.
Diane's dog, I reckon.
Do you reckon? You leave St John's steeply uphill through the village, onto a lane which becomes a track and a trail over what, depending on the time of the year, can be very boggy ground, heading for Arddock Farm. Clockwise around the farm, as through a gate onto a track, which again becomes a trail around Brown Rig. Navigation starts to break down roughly around this point, or we found it did. It's a fairly faint trail, generally using the edge of the forest as a guide, over very boggy ground to a footbridge that takes you under a very tight squeeze between walled pasture and the forest on a rugged trail, at times muddy if the season is against you, alongside the burn. Here there's a couple of styles that have to be negotiated and even found first. But once you do, there's a long pull, generally north, over a low ridge to meet the road. You can't really go wrong at this point. Whichever way, if you veered off the trail, you're going to be stopped by the road. Just try to avoid this the boggier area here. It's 1.5 kilometres to Butterhole Bridge on the road, fast walking to the Blackwater, where we had some lunch. Then about another 0.5 kilometre to a lone sycamore, where the Southern Upland Way heads north again over Culmark Hill, and again very boggy. Descending Culmark Hill, you're just generally heading for the trees around Culmark Farm and some obviously improved pasture. Passing close to the farm, it's onto a very good track across the burn here at Stroan-Fregan, and onto the road, which is a popular pickup point for the Southern Upland Way. Short distance on the road, then it's back onto open ground around the pastures of Stroan-Patrick Farm. At this point, it's just a long pull all the way up to Benbrack, with just a few breaks here and there. Again, it's very moist, very, very damp underfoot, and just increasingly pulling up towards the forest. A couple of intersections with logging tracks, and then as you approach Dodd Hill, there's a real little incline. Again, we stopped somewhere on here. Dodd Hill seems to be continuous with Manwell Hill. It's a shallow descent past the knoll at Craig and Carse, very distinctive, that one. Crossing a couple of tracks, same track, but just crossing it 3 times to the foot of Benbrack, where it's a long, tough pull to the Striding Arch sculpture at the top. It has a twin on Cold Hill over here, which can be seen in decent visibility. The descent of Benbrack to this point here was just boggy, very boggy for us. Via Mid Hill, long pull up to Cairn Hill, Black Hill, where you would visit the other Striding Arch, and a long descent past the Fans Vaultree, where the 2 Covenanters commemorated on the memorial here were killed. Then turning into the forest, northeast, to a track which you can either take long downhill to Chalk Memorial Bothy, which was where we were staying, or divert via Allen's Cairn, which was our preferred route, back onto the track and a steep hairpin down to the Bothy, where we finished for the night.